Secret House.
Secret House.
Secret House Against. Album reviews. Welcome back. Thank you all for joining us today. For the new people, please consider hitting the subscribe button. For the people who's always on the channel, hit the like button. It helps. It goes a long way. And it also doesn't cost you much of anything other than affecting the algorithm for yourself. But you're already here, so do that. Our Patreon link is in the bio. We appreciate all the people who's rocking with us at the Patreon. We launched it like a month and a half ago or whatever. And I think we got like 9 people. If you include my wife being on there, shout out to B Girl Chi. $5 tier, you know what I mean? We love y'all. Yeah,
Straight out of the shared bank account and back into it.
You know what I mean?
with
Right,
with
exactly.
10% taken off the top by Patreon.
Yeah. We like to review underground, independent hip hop artists and compelling, interesting music. We also do other things here in Tokyo. Mega Late Show is Tokyo-based hip hop art and culture podcast. We have people on, and there was just like a little video of us rocking with our man Rap Ferreira. You guys could go. Actually, I took it off. I kind of hid it from y'all, just on purpose. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, I feel like that's additional content. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, today, man, we rocking with an artist that we haven't reviewed before, Icecoldbishop. Generational Curse. It's 13 songs, 36 minutes. Icecoldbishop is, I imagine he's probably a South Central LA MC, rapper face type of cat. Definitely West Coasting. The way we do it on our show is if we haven't reviewed an album from an artist before, or we haven't reviewed an artist before or really talked about them, we talk about how we're familiar with them and maybe a little bit about their styles or whatever. But I'll go ahead and start it off, Jet, and just say that I am familiar with him off of the Super Tecmo Bowl, Boldy James,
Eating
and
Chinese inside the hoopty, bitch, we 5 deep.
Oh, that's just hot.
Niggas kill my cousin.
So it's fuck you, I deny peace.
Yeah. And that's how you know him too?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that was the highlight of that album for me.
That beat is so
the hot
ill
water
too.
tank beat. Yeah, that beat's fucking crazy. Alchemist went absolutely insane on that one.
I listened to it again, like when you sent me the link, when you was like, yo, you gotta peep this Icecoldbishop shit. I was like, oh, I didn't even know it dropped. And then I went back to check out the song. I was like, yo, I do not know what L Spade is talking about with Alchemist beats not being fucking fire. Bro, that hot water tank shit, both, actually, Icecoldbishop, I want to say, it's not like a murder. It's not like a like a renegading Eminem type of Jay-Z type of thing. But that track, that beat, his voice, what he's talking about, so hard. One of the highlights of the album for me, if not the highlight of that album. But that beat is fucking dope. And yeah, as you can see, we like and appreciate Icecoldbishop. I like his name. I like how West Coast he is. I grew up in Southern California, Oceanside, Inglewood, and I moved when I was, like 12, 13. So that was in the 90s, you know what I mean? But it's a part of my kind of nature. And so I do love a West Coast, essentially like a Southern West Coast G-Funk gang bang rapper, even though, I'm a civilian. I'm not gang banging, but yeah. My family be on that. You know what I mean? Like, I like Icecoldbishop, man.
I love a chaotic MC. Like, be that like ODB or Sticky Fingers, Danny Brown, JPEG Mafia, like all of these cats who just bring a little bit of chaos to their surroundings. The delivery, the voices, and just the manner with which they, communicate with like a certain like desperation that you don't see with rappers who are too concerned with trying to be cool. And Icecoldbishop is doing a little different. He's got his own style, and I think he's dope in that respect. But also, I love his voice. I love his delivery.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
His voice and delivery is interesting because there's like, I'm glad you said Danny Brown, because he does kind of have that kind of frenetic, high pitched, often kind of singy style, but he also does a little bit of that Kendrick Lamar like weird voice.
There's a lot of Kendrick Lamar on this album.
I think it's probably safe to say that, who on the West Coast isn't, especially when he was young as Icecoldbishop or, younger to me, who wouldn't be inspired by Kendrick? And so I think that he does kind of, it's like a Kendrick and Danny Brown kind of mixture there that to like lay it out for people to want to hear it. But there's also, to me, and I don't mean this in any type of like disrespectful way or anything, but there's like a little bit of a feminine aspect to his voice too at times, to the point where it's like he sound kind of like it almost sounds like Macy Gray to me a lot of times. His raspy kind
I just might take your soul.
exactly,
Like,
exactly. And of course, you know, like who cares if it's sound feminine or not? It sounds dope. And I really do like his shit. He also says fool a lot, which I've been living in SoCal for a minute, but I've been trying to bring fool back, you know, to Tokyo.
I hate that shit, man. I hate that shit. Some
Yeah?
model, like a model I was on audition with or something. I'd met this dude a couple of times. I see him around in Shibuya, young cat, half Japanese guy. I'm like, yo, what's up, dude? And he's like, sup, fool? I'm like, the fuck you call me? Like, took me a second. I had to like, I was like, this guy just insulted me. Like, do we have problems? I don't think we have problems, but.
Nah, fool. That shit is just regular. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I actually use it in place of the N-word a lot of times. I'm trying to, you know, reduce my usage of that just as, you know, black folks. I just feel like, yeah, sometimes we don't have to put that out. But this album is really good, man. It's again, it's called Generational Curse. If we could just get into the album.
Yeah, let's get into the specifics.
I think it's really interesting. It's a really sprawling but kind of concise look into you know, his life and kind of the contradiction that he lives of knowing better but also feeling stuck and also perpetuating some of the same problems that he's easily diagnosing. He's on the whole thing, he's kind of giving you his bona fides, you know what I mean? Like, my cousin, my uncle, this happens, I see it happen, and at times it's even like really murderous too.
Yes,
but
yes.
it's murderous usually not in the sense like we going out to just shoot people. It's murderous in the sense like y'all did something and our response has to be murderous.
Yes.
And I get it, and it's like, you know, I often feel conflicted when talking about this type of music because there's two parts of it to me, right? Like, everybody's got the privilege to make their own art and talk about the things that they do. And props to you if you're taken from your life and not just writing some fictional story about what you idealize about being a criminal or a gangbanger or whatever. And cats that especially come from that cloth, I like that they put it out. But at the same time, I've seen through my peers in my generation the kind of negative effects of rap music where there's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. By listening to these people and emulating them, you kind of eventually, even if you're a civilian, sometimes you genuinely fake yourself into being on some real shit and end up with some real time and shit. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel you, although I have to say this album's really, really tragic to me.
it is.
It's a tragedy.
It is.
And I think this is more affecting than any after school special or like anti, you know, like opposition to, you know, this kind of retaliation, affiliation type lifestyle. The final track on the album, Cursed, is like a knife in the chest, because in the end, like, the generational curse, you know, the curse that is repeatedly identified, it wins.
Yeah.
You know, at the end, he just says, like, oh, I'm going to kill somebody. I might just kill somebody right now. I might just kill somebody right now. And his voice becomes increasingly, you know, deranged throughout that song. He's screaming, you know, at one point. He's, like, running out of breath. It's like an insanity has taken a hold of him. And it's tragic. It's you know, it's horrifying.
It doesn't glorify these things in a way that a lot of other similar music does. You know, it's not like gang bang is fun, gang bang is how I live, gang banging is nice. You know what I mean? It's good being
there's
it
also
is really
like a resigned, I don't want to say normalization because that sounds like it's encouraging it, but like, you know, at the end of Focused, which is probably my favorite track of the album, obviously there is a shooting takes place, you know, in the narrative of the record. And I guess it's even implied that you, the listener, are the one that was hit. You know, because you hear like the voices, people talking, and it slowly fades away and, you know, starts going backwards, and you kind of, this idea of loss of consciousness, and then it kind of moves into the second half of the album, which has a kind of different tone and mood to it. And the response to it, there's a phone call that takes place after. There's two girls talking. And there's this kind of like, it's very almost resigned. It's like, oh yeah, I mean, like, everyone was from different hoods, and everyone had beef, and this doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, and to me, especially because that Focus beat is like a throwback to real
Like
G-Funk
G-Funk.
era, and it's just like it harkens back to the generational curse of this thing. I do think that what Icecoldbishop is doing here is, it's his art or whatever, but it also has that kind of elevated kind of intelligence to it that
Absolutely,
a lot of people would attribute to an artist like Kendrick Lamar.
Kendrick, yeah.
This album is very much like Good Kid, Mad City in those type of ways. Very different, but thematically, there's just he is very aware of the problems that are going on. He's very aware of how his mind state is affected by this shit. Like he's got bars on Out the Window, which is basically about like doing drive-bys and shit. But he's like, I don't feel the pressure, ho, but I feel depression, ho. You would too if you seen your big bro laid out on that stretcher, ho. And it's just like, yeah, man. No fucking shit. Like it's really, and then it go to like some real wavy, like all my niggas busting out the motherfucking window. And it's catchy, and man, what he does, I gotta say, like, before I even go on more critique, I liked him on that Bodie James shit. After listening to this album, I'm all in, man. He's like a very
100%.
interesting artist to me.
Oh, no, I mean, if I'll come through with a hot take on here. If you'd taken some of these tracks, the government gave us guns, Focus.
Fucking hard.
And you did that like AI voice transformation shit that we're seeing on Twitter all the time. You changed that to Kendrick Lamar. There would be 1,000 think pieces about this record already.
Yeah.
People would be like, oh, this is an all-time classic. Like he's operating on a different level. This is like incredible. I hope the Icecoldbishop gets his dues from this, because this album's incredible to me. I love this record.
What was the first bar you sent from that government gave us guns? I ain't got no homies cause of mass incarceration. I was like, yes.
Yeah, for real.
It's the problem. It's a problem, and like for me, I'm 40 years old. I did grow up, I was there. I was there in Los Angeles, in Inglewood on 84th and Budlong during the Rodney King riots, where Vermont was all burnt down and Manchester was all fucked up. And for people that don't know, like it is probably about 70 steps from where my aunt lives to Vermont. So you could see the fire bellowing all the way down Vermont, which is one of the major streets through Los Angeles. And a lot of this resonates for me. Like I said, I'm not a gangbanger. I've been godbody, or I was godbody by age 15, and I was already moved out of Southern California. But I've got a lot of, my niece is in jail right now for shooting somebody in the head. My fucking my niece's husband's brother just caught a body. Like that same nephew fucking got shot 5 times like 3 years ago. And these type of things, like on this album, resonate for me in different ways, but it also highlights, like, you remember old Danny, where he'd be like talking about selling drugs to like crack to crackheads, and they shaking and titties hit him in the back and shit. Like those type of vivid lines are things that he comes through on this album, like bad influences from my uncle. And it's just like, bro, it makes so much sense. Like Uncle Nathan tripping off a half a gram, selling dope so he don't gotta give the other half to to Sam, like Uncle Sam. Chopper tucked inside his jeans, taking up like half his pants. And it's just like, yeah, Uncle's a bad influence, bro. But like a lot of the shit is like, yeah, it correctly diagnoses, like, why am I gonna be like straight up when the government's gonna take shit from us, and the government's already fucking us up. They the one giving us all the damn guns
and the drugs in the first place.
It's like there would be think pieces on this shit. And that's also like one thing that I was thinking about as well. Me and Jed are Marxists, so the analysis of these type of things, like, where there's going to be a critical review of everything in existence. We got to critique everything, but there's also, in Marxism, there is a bit of an underserved analysis of the lumpen proletariat. The lumpen proletariat being the criminals, the thieves. In a lot of cases, we're talking exactly about a big portion of the black community and how resigned they are to trying to join into the regular, like proletariat class. But there's also this aspect where, especially now, through this kind of lumpen proletariat criminal endeavors, even with the mafia going back, decades ago, that they've kind of assimilated into the bourgeoisie. And somebody needs to figure that shit out. I want to hear more about the black lumpen proletariat.
I was gonna ask, like, if you'd read any theory, talking about, and this is maybe where I play my hand a little early, that although I do consider myself a Marxist-Leninist, I haven't read, in terms of the theory I've read, I'm more of a classical Marxist,
sure,
or even a Hegelian to that extent. But like,
sure, I just say Marxist-Leninist because I like fucking Fred Hampton. I'm rocking with the energy. But yeah, I'm more of a Marxist.
This is it, because I know, my girlfriend is Chinese. She's a member of the CCP, but she's got some pretty strong opinions on the CCP I won't go into. And I'm kind of like, well, to me, a vanguard party is a necessary evil.
Yeah.
In lieu of like something that I, actively support. I do think that is something that we would, society requires.
You need to have authority.
Transition, some sort of, state. Yeah. To transition into a genuinely communist state. But how does a vanguard party tackle something like mass, gang violence?
Sure.
These other kind of non-governmental organizations, because gangs are organizations,
sure. Right.
with hierarchy and structure in place. And I can't advocate for, we'll just throw them all in jail or firing line them, So I was wondering if you'd read any theory that kind of addressed something like that.
Well, of course, but usually the theory is not focused on the specifics of the lumpen proletariat class. It's usually when we look at it from a Marxist standpoint, it's alleviating some of the conditions that perpetuate crime and poverty. And once those are alleviated, those communities no longer kind of have to serve the same purpose of ducking taxes or because a big part of it is ideologically these communities who have been underserved, over-policed, and drugs introduced to those communities, they are operating on a different type of capitalist realism. There is almost it is almost an Afro-pessimism, not in the sense of Frank Wilderson III, but an Afro-pessimism that feels like they don't think we're shit. Fuck the rest of their shit. But once you start in any poor community in the United States, once you introduce money into those communities and programs, the children change, the communities change, things get better. And it has to be a combined materialist effort and not a means-based legislature, but a universal-based legislature to uplift all of these communities. And you see it. It gets better. It fucking absolutely gets better. And when it comes to jailing these people, it's like, no, man. A lot of people have mental issues that need specific forms of rehabilitation. Yes. But most of my niggas that are in jail don't need to be there. My nephew's... All right, I'm not going to speak out of turn, but I know motherfuckers who are in their 30s who are still selling crack to make rent because the living conditions are fucking difficult. Motherfuckers got jobs and still slang. Yep. You know what I mean? And it's just like when you got a guy like Icecoldbishop, he been gangbanging apparently his whole life. Yeah. Generationally, he born into the shit and he sees it clearly. Yeah. Once that type of revolution goes down and he realizes like, oh, this lifting up, this ain't just, our concern for Oprah being called a nigga at the Gucci store. Yeah. It's not that. He's going to be like, this get my people out of jail. This uplift my little nephew so he don't gotta live life like this. Guaranteed a person as smart as Icecoldbishop or your Kendrick Lamar's or most of the gangsters that I know and grew up with, they realize this shit, but there's just a pessimism that comes with it and a repeating of the pattern.
This is a deeply pessimistic album.
It is. It's fucking... like you said, it is tragic. It's funny because that's just how it be sometimes.
He's a funny guy, yeah.
But man, it really is just tragic. Like the song Till the End, a lot of dead homies I done scribbled in my diary, a lot of fucking pressure I receive from this society. We in dire need of an MLK. Instead we knock a nigga down right on MLK. Martin Luther King Boulevard is boulevard in almost every major black city in the United States, and violence occurs there. He sees the shit clearly, bro. A lot of dead homies that done scribbled in his diary, a lot of pressure from society. This shit is, man, like rap music and these lumpen proletariats, so to speak, are so tremendously important in analysis. Somebody need to pay more attention to this type of shit. And I'm not talking about like oh man, go listen to a trap music album and you know what I mean? Like figure it out. Like there are artists within the community who are making this type of music that come from these type of environments who have something very important to say about the conditions of the world we living in. And of course it's simple to talk about all the bad shit because it's bad everywhere. We just talking about how me and Jet, man, we about 3 to 6 months away from not being paid to being on the streets. And I know that about 85% of the Americans in America, and I know that about like all of our friends, peers.
Yeah,
bro, somebody got to figure some shit out. Icecoldbishop though, 10 out of 10 type of album for me.
Oh yeah, no, this is between this and The Live is my favorite album of the year so far. As far as straightforward rap albums go, like this slotted straight away into number 1 off my first listen alone. Bro, I love this record.
Yeah, bro. I mean, like, staring at your nigglets. I fucking love this shit. This shit is fucking amazing to me. I fucking like, hold on. I just want to play a little part of it before we get out of here. Like, it's so unique and interesting and so just thoughtful. Hold on. This is the first shit that, once I heard this, I was like, oh, this is mad special. But let me just fast forward a little bit here.
I should also highlight, if I haven't already, that this album fucking bangs.
Yeah.
Like, just on a musical level, this shit's so hard.
Yeah, man. It's like, there's like a really interesting balance between him saying that shit's really fucked up and he understands it's fucked up, but still having to move forward towards this generational curse. Yeah, I fucking like this album a lot. It's definitely on my top 5 of the year as it stands right now. Just yeah, it's an interesting album. Send this to my nephew Rock immediately.
Yeah, I recommend this album to you.
Yeah.
Yes, you in the black shirt watching this.
Yeah.
You.
Especially if you West Coasty, man. If you West Coasty, I mean, come on, this is the lineage. Like the G-Funk shit on this is fucking hard. All right, peace. Secret House Against. Like, subscribe, share this with your friends. Share
Patreon.
Share this with everybody. Yeah, the Patreon is also open. We appreciate all y'all.
Chopper eat a nigga face, but this 4-5 a 42. And my niggas got way more heart than baby Looney
I appreciate that, man.